back to the EQ video tip. I'm your host, Eric Forsetter. We've got a great second half of the show today. Let's jump into the goals of EQ video tip. Welcome back. Last time we talked about an article by Eric Barker on how to get people to change. We talked about his first 3 tips. Now we're going to focus on the next 3 in terms of helping you to evoke change within someone. Let's jump into the 3 tips that Eric has for us this week. Tip number 1, develop discrepancy. And this one is a very delicate one because you have to be careful on how you actually talk about it with someone. For example, if you're trying to get someone to stop drinking, and this is going to be possibly a bit uncomfortable for people, you want to point out the discrepancy, but you want the person on the other end to point it out, not you. You don't want to say, I hear drinking's bad for you. Right away, that puts them on the negative and it feels like you're attacking them. Instead, you don't point it out. What you need to do is you need to evoke it, and you need to figure a way to get them to talk about it. A good way typically that Eric Barker recommends is to merely ask them about the subject. So tell me what you already know about alcohol and how it affects people. Something like that allows them to open up. By saying the words tell me more or tell me about, it gives them the opportunity to process their opinion. You're not lecturing them and you're not telling them to change either. Rather, you're giving them a chance to open up their opinion and see from there. Once they understand that, then they can understand the discrepancy that's out there, because there's probably a discrepancy between their goals and when their actual actions are. So let them pull out the information that shows that discrepancy and develop that rapport with who you're trying to change. That's the first tip from Eric Barker. Tip number 2, evoke hope. And this is a really important piece because you need to get that person who's going to change, you need to get their confidence up. And it's important to understand that they've gone through a challenge at some point in their life. Maybe not today, maybe not last week, but at some point they went through a challenge. And asking them something like, what changes have you made in your life that were difficult for you? Or what things have you managed to overcome that you really weren't sure you could do at first? Again, leave it open for them so that they can think about it. Then say something like, suppose you did succeed in making this change, and we're looking back on it. What's most likely to have happened for it to have occurred? Things like then start to get them to start envisioning success, start to thinking about what it's going to look like when they succeed and they're happy with it. And it also helps them to formulate a plan, which we're going to get to in a minute. Again, you want the person to start putting that change and instilling hope in their system. So evoke hope to begin that process as well. Our last tip, planning. Now, we've gotten them to diminish the sustain talk, which is great. We've used darn, and the change talk is now increasing. And of course, we've evoked hope, so now they believe that they can actually make this change. The first thing you should say is, so what's next? Put it on them to come up with a plan. You don't need to come up with a plan, but you need to figure out how to help them clarify that plan. Come up with concrete things. Make it more specific. How are you going to get ready? How often are you going to do this thing? Set times and dates. When do you do your studying? If you're trying to get someone, let's say like myself, my kids to study, when will you study every day? Well, we're going to study every night at 6 to 10 p.m. When do you think you're going to do it? Where will you do that? What would you need for that to happen? Put a plan together, but allow your end person to figure out what that plan will be. When you do that, it allows them to evoke that confidence and feel like they're going to succeed and they have a plan that's instilled confidence in them that will make all of this successful. At this point, you have to sit back and let them take over and run it and offer to support them as they go through that. Would you like reminders? What can I do to help you out throughout the process? Again, it's a whole part of a plan, and it takes planning on their part and motivation and hope for it to occur. That concludes this week's double feature on how to get people to change. Remember, we're going to go through a bunch of things. Nobody likes to be told what to do. Use the ORS method. Use the DARN method as well. Remember, you're trying to change the ratio of change talk and sustain talk as well. Develop discrepancies amongst them. And of course, evoke hope and put in a plan. Here's a quick summary in case you missed it as well. So that concludes our EQ video tip for today. Try incorporating some of these tips into your daily routine. But remember, use what works best for you and personalize it for yourself. Thank you always to our great research team for providing us with some great tips today. As always on EQ Video Tip, we want to end with gratitude. So thank you for watching. We really appreciate it. Here are some resources that you can use if you want more information on EQ going forward. Thank you again, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Thank you.